Hey everybody, Mr. Vendetta here again with another video. It's video number 13 today, and it's going to be a math and science project. It's going to be fun. It'll get you out of the house, going on a nature walk, on another scavenger hunt, looking for something, looking for lots of different things as a matter of fact. So I want to get started by telling you a little bit about the activity. It's called Pick Up Leaves. And what you're going to do is you're going to go out and take a nature walk with your family around your neighborhood, drive to a park, whatever you'd like. And you're going to look for as many different kinds of leaves as you can find. Some of them you might find on the ground, and some of them you might have to pull off of a tree or a plant of some sort. But I don't want you to worry about that because it won't really hurt the plant if you do that, or the tree. They are used to having animals and bugs picking at their leaves and picking at their bark. And what it does is when something gets pulled off or bitten on a plant or a tree, it just makes them a little bit stronger. So it's not going to hurt them, so don't worry about it. This time of year, we're going to find more leaves on the tree than on the ground, so you might have to pluck some off, and that's perfectly okay. So I want you to look for leaves, but I also want you to look for anything else you might find that was created by nature. So twigs and sticks and short branches, rocks, stones, clumps of dirt, flowers, anything you might find. Seeds, you might find seeds out there. Anything that you might find, I want you to collect. So you're going to go on your nature walk. You're going to take a little baggie with you to put your things in. And when you get home, you're going to start working with your collection. And I'm going to show you some new words on the board that are going to help you along the way as you're doing this activity. So let's take a look at the board. Okay. Now, what you're going to be doing with the leaves and the other things that you collect on your nature walk is you're going to sort them. And sort means to put objects that are similar or alike into categories. Well, that sounds easy enough, Mr. Vendetta. But what does similar mean? What does alike mean? And what's a category? I don't know. Well, fortunately, I'm going to tell you right now. So you are going to sort your leaves and other objects you find. You're going to put them into categories. Now, a category is just another word for a group. So you're going to put your objects into groups. You're going to group them in ways that they're similar, which means almost the same, or alike, which means the same. So you take your collection and you sort it into categories or groups. You put things that are similar, almost the same, and things that are alike, which means the same, into the same group. Each group should be different than the other group. Now, how are you going to sort those objects? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to look at each object and you're going to look at its attributes. Attributes. That's a long word, attributes. 3 claps on that one. Attributes are things that make objects alike or different. And these are the different attributes that you can look for when you're sorting your leaves and your other objects that you found on your nature walk. You can sort things by size. That's one attribute. Put big things together, put medium things together, put tiny or small things together. You can sort things by shape. Are they shaped more like a circle, an oval? Are they kind of square-shaped or star-shaped, crescent-shaped? You can sort by the attribute of shape. You can sort by color. Put yellow things together, put orange things together, put red things together, blue, green, whatever by color. That's another attribute. And finally, here's a brand new word. Are you ready for this one? The word is texture. Tex, T-X. The TU says ch in that word. Texture. Texture. Texture means how something feels. Does it feel smooth? Does it feel rough? Does it feel scratchy? Does it feel soft or does it feel hard? Does it feel cold or warm or cool or hot? That's what texture is. Texture is how something feels when you touch it. And different things have different textures. If you touch an egg, it's going to be pretty smooth, but it might be a little bit rough. It's also going to feel round in your hand. But if you touch the top of your desk, that's going to be very smooth, and it's going to feel flat, not round. That's what texture is all about. So we're going to be remembering these new vocabulary words. Vocabulary means new words that you're learning as we do this activity. So what I did today is I went out and took a nature walk of my own. I took my dog Maya with me, and he ran around and played in the grass while I collected leaves and other things. When I got home, I took everything that I had in my little plastic bag and I put it out on the floor, and I started looking at ways that I could sort these different objects in ways that they're similar, which means almost the same, or alike, which means exactly the same. And so what I ended up with is I ended up with 4 big categories, or 4 big groups, and I'm going to show you what those are right now. Okay, so here's my board, and the first thing that I did when I started sorting my objects, looking at different attributes, was I took out the things that were not leaves. Most of what I found were leaves. So I made one group with wood and seeds, okay? I know wood and seeds aren't really close to each other, but I just kind of figured the one thing that's similar about them, the one thing that's almost the same, is that they are not leaves. So I have some wood and I have some seeds down here. Now the next thing that I did is I took out all the leaves that are not really leaves, but instead there's something called needles. Now some trees, mostly called evergreen trees, pine trees, spruce trees, cypress trees, they don't have leaves, they have needles. And so I took all the needles that I had collected and I put them into one group. That's the attribute that they have in common. They're all needles. They're all shaped like needles, okay? They look a little different from each other, but they are all needles. Now, next, what I did is I took the leaves, and here's a great new word. I took the leaves that are you ready for this one? Ovoid shaped. Ovoid shaped, all right? Now, what does ovoid mean? Well, ovoid means that they're shaped like an oval. Some of them can be very long and skinny, like these ones and that one. Others can be more round, like this one and these ones up here. But they're all ovoid shaped. They're either long, skinny ovals, almost ovals, or they are short and wide ovals, or almost ovals. Ovoid doesn't mean that it actually is an oval. It means it's shaped something like an oval. So now I've got my first 3 of my big 4 categories. You might find more categories or even less categories. I happen to find 4. I've got wooden seeds, which are not leaves. I've got leaves that are needles, leaves that are ovoid shaped, and finally, the last group are leaves. Here's another new word. Leaves that are what we call lobed. Lobed. Like your earlobe kind of hangs off of your ear. Well, lobed leaves have either small or large, and I like to call them arms because they look like they're reaching out from those leaves. So you can see that all of these leaves, they're not ovoid or oval shaped. They are lobed because they have these little arms sticking out of them. So that's the first thing that I did. Now, once you get those big categories done, you can be finished with this activity. You've done it. You have sorted your objects, your leaves, and other things that you found on your nature walk into categories. You looked at attributes and found things that were similar or alike and put them into same groups so that each group was different. But if you want to challenge yourself, you can do a little bit more. Because like I said to you a few minutes ago, the objects in each of my 4 big categories are still a little bit different from one another, and they can be sorted into smaller groups. So let's take the wood and the seeds. Let me take this one down. And I'll show you what happened when I sorted the wood and the seeds into smaller groups. Look at what I came up with. I put the wood in one group by itself. I have one pine cone, that goes by itself. Then I found these bushy seeds right here. I put that one in a group by itself. These ones are single seeds. They're not in bunches. Each one of those little pods is a seed of its own. I called those single seeds because single means one. And then down here, I put these ones together that are long and thin. So out of that one big group of wood and seeds, I was able to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 smaller groups. Now, I did the same thing with the needles. I was able to separate the needles into 3 smaller groups or categories. Some of them were smooth. Some of them were pointy and flat. And some of them were pointy and sharp. Now, I could divide them in other ways too. Short ones, long ones. But I chose smooth, pointy and flat, and pointy and sharp. Those were the attributes that I saw or that my brain thought about when I looked at that group of needles. Okay? Now I did the same thing with the ovoid leaves. Remember, those are the ones that are shaped kind of like ovals. And what I did there was I sorted them into 4 little categories. Long and thin, short and thin, short and wide, and round on top. Those are my 4 tiny categories inside the big ovoid category. Finally, the lobed leaves. I put them into smaller categories as well. I found 1, 2, 3 different small categories that I could make out of those lobed leaves. Some of them have 3 large lobes on them. They're very easy to see. Others have 3 small lobes. They're harder to see, but they are there. And then finally, I found a whole bunch of leaves that have more than 3 lobes on them. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lobes. These ones are very small. I didn't even count them. There were so many. So that's a challenge activity that you can do after you sort your objects into your big categories. Try sorting them into even smaller categories by finding attributes that make them alike or similar and put them into one smaller category. Alrighty? Now, when you're done with that, and if you do this last couple of activities, you can count that toward math instead of doing the seesaw math. So let's take a look at the board real quick. Okay? The first thing you can do is pick one of your big categories and make a graph of how many of each item you found. Now you can do that with your big categories. So you can say one bar would be all wood and seeds. Another bar would be all needles. Another bar would be all ovoid shaped leaves. And finally, the last bar would be all of the lobed leaves. Those would be my 4 big categories if I were going to make a graph. So you can make a graph with your big categories, especially if that's all you do, are the big categories. But if you go ahead and take your big categories and turn them into tiny categories, you can make one graph about one of those sets as well. Okay? Parents, all this is on the website, including the photos that you saw here. There's a whole lesson plan in there with some background information. And, oh, by the way, the math connection, there's an activity that I'm going to show you real quick right now, but it's also on the website, okay? Now, information in a graph is called data. And data helps us solve problems and make decisions. So I created a problem right here, and I came up with all the different ways to solve that problem. Okay? So you can do the math connection if you want. You can do the small categories if you want, but definitely sort your objects into the big categories. I'd like everybody to do that one, please. Here are some ideas of other things you can find besides leaves. And also at the end, I just want you to remember to respect and protect nature. Remember, pulling leaves and things off of a tree won't really hurt it, but if you try to pull a whole branch off, that is going to hurt the tree. And finally, whatever you keep it out of your mouth. Alrighty? Okay, so that's my video for today. I haven't mentioned deep breathing for a while. I hope everybody is doing some deep breathing. Today I'm going to do some windy deep breathing because I'm looking out the window and I see that the wind is picking up a little bit. So here we go. In through your nose, out through your mouth, fill your lungs, and then empty them out. Okay? Ready? Windy breathing. Feel your body relax when you breathe out. When you breathe in, you tighten up a little bit. When you breathe out, just let your muscles relax. It's very good for your brain. It relaxes that too. All right? You guys take care. Remember, I miss you very, very much. And parents, please stay in touch with me if there's anything that I can do to help you out, or if you'd like me to stop by and visit the kids. All right? Take care. Bye-bye.